I think when we're younger, we kind of thrive more on excitement,
Mm.
and sometimes that can translate into drama. When you go through some things, you find yourself just praying for peace. So when you get it, that is what you're thankful for.
Hey, friend.
Hey, girl,
How are you?
I am making it.
Amen.
I am making it.
That is the theme of today. I am Ashley White, the host of Joy on the Journey podcast, a weekly podcast all about defining, finding, and maintaining joy on the journey of life. This week is a conversation that has been, about 25 years in the making. This is my very best friend, Dr. Dawn Edwards. Dr. Dawn earned her doctorate of pharmacy from Xavier University of Louisiana and is a staff pharmacist with Omnicare. This season, I have been privileged to interview some of the most important and impactful people in my life. And Don has been my best friend since 1998, walking the halls of Kenwood Academy High School in Chicago, Illinois. And over the past 25 years, I have seen and witnessed the embodiment of perseverance, experienced the greatest support, and been challenged to explore more than just what I am familiar with. If someone had asked me to describe her in a word, I couldn't. She is the sister I've always wanted and needed. She's the person my phone automatically dials when something serious or remotely funny ever happens. Don, you are brave. You are incredible. You are fierce. And I am so grateful that you have agreed to join the podcast.
Well, what an introduction. I would like to add that somewhere along those 25 years, probably around age 30 or so, I turned into a crybaby. So, you know, don't be shocked.
Oh, she's cried already. It is sweet. It happens. The age, the hormones just be like, well, I'm
It's
just
so
gonna cry.
rude. I used to be
And
such a
that's
thug.
she. It's so true. I was the softie out of this duo, and now it's mutual. So, Don, we start the podcast by asking every guest to give their definition of joy. So, how would you define joy?
For me, at this point in my life, joy is peace. Joy is that calm that comes over you, even in the midst of a trial, to be able to sit in peace, to know that happiness and sadness are a part of life, but being able to be present in whatever that is and having that peace, it holds together your joy.
Hmm. So, what is it about this age and this season do you think that has defined joy as peace in comparison to earlier years of your life?
I think when we're younger, we kind of thrive more on excitement,
Mm.
and sometimes that can translate into drama. When you go through some things, you find yourself just praying for peace. So when you get it, that is what you're thankful for.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that we all take the moment to identify what peace looks like because peace can look like a walk in the park. Peace can look like just a quiet afternoon, right? Um, Peace can look like a good book. Peace can look like a good cry, you know? But it's so important that we recognize that peace can look like different things in different seasons at different parts of even the day. Peace looks like and feels different, right?
Mhm.
Um Recently, we've both gone through some different challenges with our fur babies, and peace can look like being having somebody that just understands. So you
Indeed.
don't feel like the
The crazy one.
crazy the crazy dog lady, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
am I you okay, you get it.
Mm.
So even if I am crazy, it's two of us.
Right?
And so peace can look like that as well. I want to ask, in seasons of your life when that peace wasn't present, can you identify now how you were able to persevere?
That little teeny drop of faith, literally a mustard seed, that God's word won't come back void. In the home that I owned for 12 years, in one of my darkest moments, a Bible verse came to me. It's in Jeremiah, for I know the plans I have for you. You know,
Mhm.
it kept speaking to me, so much so that I went and found a decal and had it put on my dining room wall because I needed to be reminded. Because when no one else is there, even when people are there to hype you up, sometimes you can't absorb that. So I needed a reminder, knowing that God's word does not come back void no matter what I'm going through. That's how I persevered.
Holding on to God's word and believing um, that it will accomplish everything that God set out for it to do, that His will is perfect,
Mm,
um, that His will is what's best for us, even in those moments where it's dark and the light seems so far away. In those dark moments, can you fully reflect on them now, on the lessons of the darkness?
I think the biggest lesson was that you can always come back, that you have survived 100% of your worst days.
Mm,
And, when we go through things, I think everybody's first initial thought is, why me? But why not you? What makes any of us so special that we will never endure any hardship, even beyond our imagination? I would never have thought this could happen to me, but why couldn't it happen to you? We're taught if we do things the right way, we do things in order, that everything will be fine, but that's not life. You know, it has its ups and downs, its hills and valleys. And as long as you're getting those hills and valleys, you're still alive. You're still living. So it happened, you know?
mhm,
Just keep living, as they tell us all the time, right?
yeah,
So those darkest moments, the lesson is keep living. The lesson is you can always come back.
mhm.
And as long as you wake up the next day, you have
Oof.
options.
Does it resonate with you that you are a survivor?
I don't know. I don't know if I would consider myself a survivor because what have I survived? I'm,
Mhm,
it's life.
got it. It's life. Because to say it would be any different would make you feel special or exempt from the trials of life.
Yeah. Because we're all, most of us, I'm not going to say all, we all think we're special in
Mhm,
some regard or another, but we're not exempt. It may be hard. It may be hard to understand that part of it. We're not exempt. It's
mhm,
definitely hard when you're going through it, but having people in your corner that love you, having that little mustard seed of hope to hold on to. Um, it has to be enough to get you to the next moment, not even looking for the next day, the next moment. When I was going through my training classes as a pharmacy technician, the young lady that was training us, we were talking about answering the phone. And she said, when you put somebody on hold, don't tell them, I'll be with you in a second. Or if somebody's standing in front of you, don't say, give me a minute. She said, I'll be with you in a moment, because a moment could be 5 seconds, it could be 10 days, but I'll be with you in a moment. So you don't create an expectation that you cannot
Mm.
fulfill.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. And it speaks to the larger picture of embracing every moment for however long the moment is.
Hmm.
Whether it's a spark of joy, whether it's a length, a season of joy, it's embracing what it is as it is for however long it is.
Hmm. Absolutely.
That moment. That's good. So let's dig deeper into your journey as a pharmacist. You have been practicing pharmacy for decades. Yep. Yep. We are just that experienced, dare I say, seasoned in the field.
Indeed. Um, I have been in the practice of pharmacy in some regard for 23 years. Started as a pharmacy technician our senior year in high school,
Don't
with
be
our
aging
self
me.
pharmacy. You were there by happenstance. It was not something I was looking for. It was something that was offered to me. Um, and so I'm like, why not give it a try? My high school counselor, Miss Brown, God bless her, she knew I was interested in being pre med, and this opportunity fell for her. And so she recommended myself and a couple of other of our classmates to get this job. So interviewed the pharmacy manager. He actually came to Kenwood to interview us on site, and I think three of us got hired. I was the only one who stuck with it. uh, but between Christmas breaks and spring breaks and summer breaks, I found that I enjoyed pharmacy. And for those who don't know me or us, in high school, we were very active and very much social butterflies. And so when I got down to Xavier and got into this strenuous pre med program, because for those who are familiar with Xavier, we put the most Black students into med school. So the pre med program is no joke. And I'm like, this is interfering with my social life. They want a lot out of me. And as much as I wanted to be a pediatric neurologist, I also wanted some time for myself, you know? And, Xavier is very serious about his academics. So I was like, well, I like pharmacy. And my mother was like, well, why don't you apply to pharmacy school? So I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And when I got into my sophomore year at Xavier, I was like, pharmacy seems like a good idea. I already work in a pharmacy. It doesn't seem that bad. Um, and then realizing, speaking to a lot of medical professionals, practitioners, a lot of them don't know what they're doing.
Mm.
And so I was like, doctors really have very limited knowledge about medication. And I'm like, I like this. So I'll change my major. And I did my sophomore year. I switched to pre pharmacy from pre med. And I'm like, well, I still want to be a doctor, a physician. So I will use pharmacy money to pay for med school. And so I got accepted into the 2-4 program at Xavier, which means I would go straight through undergrad to pharmacy school, professional school, and come out on the other end with my doctorate of pharmacy. Um, got accepted on the first go round, and I got into pharmacy school. First year was kind of a breeze because you're learning the basics. And I was already working in the pharmacy for about 3 years at that point. So get to P2 year, and I was like, oh, pharmacy school is med school. And nobody told me. So it kind of hit me with a ton of bricks, and it became the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I had fun doing it, but it was one of the hardest things. And um, I decided at that point that med school was a no no, that pharmacy was just going to have to be it. And I stuck with it. Graduated in 2007 from Xavier. Immediately went into practice with Walgreens because at that point I had switched from Osco to Walgreens. In 2018, I got fired from Walgreens.
Oh, okay.
Went on a brief hiatus of working period, and uh, picked back up working for CVS in December of 2020, and then took another position with CVS in 2021 that led me to Indianapolis. And as of November of 2022, I'm now a long term care pharmacist with Omnicare.
It's a storied career or decisions of pivots of not necessarily the ultimate plan, right? When you started, but being able to pivot when things life changed.
Hmm.
And what have you learned about yourself when every time you had to pivot from your idea of what life was and needed to be and your plan to there are other alternatives that I may not have considered first.
Well, I will say what I have exercised in this last career pivot is that when you know it's time to move, move. Because with going from pre pharmacy, I mean, from pre med to pre pharmacy, I molded over a little bit, but it was like, make the move. When I went from Osco to Walgreens, because of some management changes at Osco, when we're in college, we broke college students. One thing you cannot play with is my money. So you're not giving me the hours I need. Well, I know somebody who wants me over there. They had already tried to pluck me from Osco anyway. So I made a phone call, didn't even have to interview. Got the job, switched from Osco to Walgreens. Had a phenomenal experience interning with Walgreens as a pharmacy student in St. Louis in the East St. Louis area. Uh, Gave my best to Walgreens, but I knew probably about 5 years before that job ended that I needed to pivot, and I didn't. And, when you don't move, God will move you. So this time around, I was like, mm-mm. I feel it. I'm gonna pivot.
What's beautiful from that is also learning the lessons and then applying what you've learned when when another situation comes up, because how
Mhm.
many times have we bumped our heads
Over
against
and
the
over.
same over and over,
Mhm.
but to your credit, you had an opportunity present itself where you could have bumped your head and you could have been like, "No, I'm good over here." And it's like, "Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Hold on. Let me pause.
This looks
Now let me
familiar.
this looks real familiar, and I know what happens when I don't do the thing that I know I should do.
Mhm.
Let me just be obedient. Let me just submit." And would you say, in this season, that you are reaping the benefits of obedience?
Oh, definitely. This has been the best um work environment from top to bottom that I have had since I started working.
Mm,
Now I'm in a season of trying to shed that trauma response that I've had from previous experiences,
mhm,
but I can honestly say I'm currently happy with my job. I'm not looking for a job. Even when I took the position with CVS that had me to relocate out of state, I was still looking for a job. I had signed a contract for 12 months. So halfway through that 12 months, I had already started looking for a job because, as my therapist said, misery is a choice.
ooh,
So I knew that I was not happy. Um, and it had nothing to do with being a pharmacist because I love being a pharmacist. But the environment in which I was practicing, the type of patient interactions I was having, it wasn't patient care. The environment
mm,
is not conducive to patient care. And nobody wants to go to work and be frustrated every day. So I knew I could not do this for another 20, 30 years.
mhm,
So, even though I still am getting job offers for retail positions, it's a no. I had to tell recruiters flat out, I'm not interested in retail. I'm already doing that. It doesn't allow me to practice in the way that I want to practice.
mhm,
So knowing that and sticking to that, even when they're throwing money at you, you have to stick to what you know you need to do
mm,
versus what is easiest to do. Because I could have stayed in the position I had. They were trying to offer me more money to stay. They wanted me to take on a management position, but misery is a choice. So I had to pivot.
misery is a choice.
Mhm.
You get an option. And in the same way, joy is a choice.
Mhm.
We get to choose. Um, and in some cases, it's a mindset only that we have to flip a switch, right? Of how we are looking at situations. And I wonder, now being in a place of fulfillment, a place of peace, a place of joy, can you identify what in you has also changed? Yes, the situations have changed and the positions have changed, but I would dare say you have changed as the situations have changed.
Definitely. I've changed in how I even approach work. And I tried to shift even before I changed um, business areas because, to be completely honest, in the metro area that I'm working in, I consider it the opioid hub of the Midwest.
Wow.
And so dealing with a lot of people who are addicted
Mm,
to different things, Some of them know they're addicted and are on addiction meds. Some of them don't even realize they're addicted. But the addict behavior, dealing with that day in and day out, it's like you try to make sense out of nonsense and it gets you nowhere. So you have to kind of change your approach and your mindset. Like, these people are ill.
Mhm.
What can I do to best help them? Even if it's something they don't agree with. And trying not to have an attitude with them, because when you're knee deep in it, you can't see yourself.
Yeah.
So I have to understand that they can't see their behaviors as problematic. Um, Even dealing with other healthcare professionals that maybe need a little more training or shouldn't be practicing at all,
Mhm.
they can't see themselves either. Trying to shift that frustration as to not put that on the person on the other side of the phone or the other side of the counter, doing a lot of deep breathing, just processing different, definitely, move me into this area, because while I'm not dealing with the general public anymore, dealing with a lot more nursing staff.
Mhm.
And while we may be a closed door pharmacy, it's still busy and still having to deal with that workload. And, in retail, typically you're the only pharmacist there for the shift. Um, but now having to deal with maybe three or four other pharmacists and how they work and how workflow needs to mesh. And um, yeah, just learning how to process different has definitely changed for me.
Hmm. That's good. You mentioned therapy.
Hmm.
How important has it been, or seeking therapy or the support of a therapist, a counselor, a trained, licensed therapist, to being able to walk through these various seasons and pivots um, of your life?
It has been pivotal. I will say that there are all different types of therapists. So you have therapists who, they do a lot of listening, and, they let you get your tears out, and, they'll offer some words of encouragement. And that's good for some people. And then you have therapists who they do more of the talking,
Mm,
more of the probing to kind of get you to explore ways um, in which you may need to change, in ways your environment may need to change, things to help you discover more about yourself. I had both,
mm.
and I needed the latter.
Okay.
Because I can vent all day about work, but what are you going to do to change it? You know, what is it about yourself that you need to recognize in how you deal with this situation and how you deal with other people in your life? And the we say we go to therapy to deal with the people in our lives that refuse to go to therapy. So, it's important. I think therapy
Yeah.
is for everyone,
Mhm.
and not when you're going through a crisis. Therapists are there to help you problem solve, to help you develop tools um, to get through this thing we call life. So I
This
think
thing,
therapy is great.
absolutely, this thing we call life. I wonder if you could pinpoint your greatest skill that has made you a successful pharmacist. What would you pick
Critical thinking skills.
and why?
Oftentimes, we are doing the the front end work, where it is the customer service, and then the back end work, which is the clinical. We're investigating, the who, what, when, is it appropriate for this patient, all of that, looking at the limited picture we get of a patient or a situation, trying to make the best decision. With pharmacy, you have to have an investigative mindset
Mm,
and you have to critically think through, well, they sent this, but is this what they meant? You have to be able to do some investigative research and have some critical thinking skills, not to just push things through because that's what they sent in.
mm,
Because not critically thinking could kill somebody. Not thinking through the steps of a problem could kill somebody, someone's loved one. We have to think about the end goal is to help the patient.
yeah,
So, you have to listen to what is being said, what is being applied, what is missing. You have to know how to ask questions to get the answer that you're looking for. Um, so yeah, critical thinking skills, which is
that's good. When you consider the life and death aspect of what you do, I I would have to agree. Um, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently, if anything?
the only thing I would do different. I would not be so focused on going into retail pharmacy straight out of school. I would go and do further training with a residency. Even though pharmacists, our fourth year is all clinical training. It's just like MDs. After you finish school, you go do residency, fellowships, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I was so in love with retail pharmacy at the time that I just wanted to go and do that, to the dismay of even one of my preceptors.
Mm,
And she was just like, "You were just so dead set on going to work in retail." And I'm like, "I like it. I like being able to be with people, help people, that one on one contact with the public."
mhm,
But as I tell any pharmacy student I come across, retail will always be there. Go and do a residency. It will make things a little bit easier for you when it's time to pivot. So, do that extra step. Yes, you will only get paid maybe 30 to $40,000 a year, but you're a college student, you're used to being broke. It'll be okay for another year or two to be broke. Forget about the money and go do the extra training.
that's good. That's good. So, as we are beginning to wrap up, I do want to talk about our friendship just a little bit because I don't know how many people get an opportunity to have a 20 plus year friendship
Mhm.
in which I don't think we have not lived in the same state. Post high school for more than how long were you in Houston post Katrina? 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was by literally national emergency
Okay.
that that we rode out 2 hurricanes together.
Okay.
Um, what would you say is the secret of our friendship?
One, we already had a solid foundation, and I think we allow each other to be ourselves. The shortcomings we have as individuals, we recognize them. We don't penalize each other for them. We kind of just adjust, you know, like I'm sure you could tell me about 4 or 5 things that I do. It's like, oh, this girl here. And, likewise, but
Mhm.
I recognize that. I understand that. I adjust because The relationship is more important. And so we
Mhm.
have to give each other some grace. Have to give each
Yeah.
other some grace.
Yeah, I agree. I think the baseline to any relationship is one, I would say our foundation, and then two is the genuine love. I know for a fact that you love me. I know for a fact that I can call you at any hour as long as her do not disturb is not on because
Hello.
Don be sleep. And so she be sleep. Um, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that you love me, that you wish me the best. Um, and that the feeling is absolutely mutual. There is nobody that is smarter than Dawn. Her whole family.
you, you go tell them.
So listen,
Who we? Oh Lord.
we also giggle a lot most
Oh man.
days. This is all we do is giggle.
Oh my God.
Um, but
Oh,
Dawn and her family like this evil game. This evil game. And they really hazed me one Christmas.
we did not haze
And
you.
it was a haze. They play Scrabble, and they play Scrabble like regular people play Uno, and why?
Because it is a great game. It is a game of strategy. It is. You get to use your vocabulary. It's like I say, it's more about strategy than words. Because even though, I have a doctorate, I was the first to have the
Mhm.
doctorate. I do have a
Yes.
younger brother who also has his doctorate because he couldn't let me get one and he not get one. And even though my mother may not have a doctorate, you know, let her tell us she's smarter than all of us.
And is.
And so, even though as smart as I am, they think I'm the least smart of
Oh,
us all. So, Scrabble is serious business
at their
around this
house.
house.
Well, I didn't know that, okay? And so I will never forget. And they were like real serious. And I was like, well, first of all, I've never played. And second of all, what are we doing? How y'all getting these long words out of these itty bitty? No, no. And from that day forward, I have never played. I have aversion. If I meet somebody and they say, "Oh, I love Scrabble," oh, we not friends. We not even. We don't go together. Cause no,
That
ma'am, no sir.
score sheet,
Mm-mm.
I probably should have kept it and framed it because that was bad. It was bad.
I stopped playing. I
Yeah,
don't.
I
What am
know.
I supposed to do with these letters? Nothing. The is what this spells.
But they have apps on the phone where you can practice now.
Who wants to do that? When TikTok and Instagram are also available.
I'm just
Let us
saying.
be clear.
This is a
But
holiday
also,
tradition.
it is in their house, not in mine. I don't go over there for that. They start pulling out that, all right, guys, what's been real, got to go, got to go, got to go. One thing we do, we are spades, forever spades partners,
Now that
and
is very true. That is
I
also
have not
serious.
played. This is what happens when you don't live in the same state. I have not played spades in years because we don't live in the same state.
Hmm.
And so, but these are the things that I think bind us. And as long as technology is around, I am forever grateful. So, the last segment of the podcast is um, your joy journey ahead. So, if you had to and if you could think about your life 5 years from now, could you dare share how you could envision it to be?
Professionally, I would say I would like to be in a position to affect some of the systems of pharmacy and how we practice, whether that be at the company I currently work for or on a bigger scale. The part of me that likes to tell people what to do and how best it would be done, I think could be utilized in that regard. Um, and I do think I'm on that track. Even before I left CVS Retail, they wanted me to be a manager, and while I could do it, mm-mm, I didn't want to, because again, I would have been stuck, and misery is a choice. Um, Personally, I would love to be a mother,
Mm.
to raise a little mini me to go out and affect the world further than I could, because I'm always about pushing it forward. You shouldn't want anybody to be just like you. I want
Mhm.
somebody to be better than me. Socially, I don't think I would change much. I have my people. I love my people. I'm not saying no new friends, but it's gonna take a while for new people to get added to the rotation. Yeah, that's where I am.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And we stand in agreement for all the good things that God has in store for you, in every way, every single way possible. Y'all, I do. If people wanted to get in touch with you, if a young pharmacy student wants to know how they could figure out how they could pivot, they want to get some advice about additional residencies or avoiding some pitfalls of retail pharmacy, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, my socials are private for a number of reasons, but you could reach out to me on Instagram is the best way. I actually do check those DMs. Facebook, I'm on there sporadically, but I don't check my inbox. So my Instagram handle is must love dogs, MUST underscore LUV underscore DOGZ as in Zeta. Um, so you want to learn more about pharmacy and what I've been through and what advice I have for you, you can shoot me a message there. Please identify yourself and the reason for your message. But I'm always happy to share my pharmacy journey with anybody who's interested. We definitely need more pharmacists that look like us, and we need more pharmacists that look like us in non traditional roles because I
Mm,
don't think that is expressed as an option for a lot of us.
that's good. That's good. That's a good message that people need to hear and recognize. So, y'all, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. If any portion of this transparent and vulnerable conversation has touched you, please drop it in the comments. And I look forward to engaging in every fashion. And if you have gotten anything out of today, please, please, please like, share, and let somebody else know that misery is a
It's a
choice.
choice.
It is a choice. But joy is also a choice.
Amen.
So, till we gather again every single Thursday, may God increase your joy, grant you strength for the journey, and give you the courage to tell your story. Bye, friends.
Bye.